I am you, just older. A few more wrinkles, a little more silver in my hair, and a softer pace in my step. But my heart still remembers what it felt like to be exactly where you are now. Curious, maybe a little uncertain, wondering what the years ahead will look like, wondering how much time you really have left. You see, I used to think that aging just happened like seasons changing, that it was out of my control, that the number on the cake determined the speed of decline. But now I know better. Now I know the body whispers long before it shouts. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear the truth about how long you might stay strong, how long you might stay here. I'm not writing to scare you. I'm writing because I care. Because I've learned that after 60, there are signs. Not myths. Not old wives' tales. Real, quiet signals backed by science and lived experience. They are subtle. A slower walk. A restless night. A fading appetite. The small things that feel like nothing until one day they become everything. And here's what I want you to remember. These signs do not mean it is too late. They mean it is still possible. Still possible to wake up with clarity. Still possible to move with strength. Still possible to live the years ahead with dignity, peace, and even joy. The way you live today will echo in the years to come. You have more power than you think. And the smallest changes now can ripple forward into a life that lasts longer and feels lighter. So before I share what these signs are, pause with me. Breathe. Listen. Because this letter is not about aging. It's about awakening. And your body has been trying to speak to you all along. Are you ready to hear it? I live in a quiet house now. Not lonely, but quiet. The kind of quiet that comes not from emptiness, but from peace. From having seen enough. From having let go of the noise I used to chase. The mornings are slow. The sun filters in through the curtains like an old friend. I still make my own tea. My hands tremble a little, but the ritual is soothing. I sit by the window, sip slowly, and listen. Not to music, not to news, but to the breeze, the birds, the rhythm of life still moving outside my walls. I'm 83. There are more lines on my face than I ever imagined. More softness around my eyes. But my gaze is steady. Not because my vision is perfect, but because I see differently now. I don't look for answers in the distance anymore. I look inwards. I see life in smaller things. A leaf falling. A grandchild's laughter. The memory of a walk I took 40 years ago. And I remember you. I remember what it felt like to be 61. Not old, not young, just suspended. Somewhere between no longer and not yet. Aware that time was moving faster, but not sure what to do about it. Wanting more years, but not knowing how to live them better. That's why I'm writing this letter. Not because I'm afraid of dying. I've made peace with that. I'm writing because I know what it's like to live without awareness. To wake up day after day and forget that each morning is a question. Will I treat this life like something fragile or something endless? I didn't always treat it well. There were years I rushed through. Weeks I lost to stress and distraction. Days I ignored the signals. The heaviness in my legs. The fatigue in my chest. The silence in my heart. But then, there were turning points. Small ones. The first time I stood on one leg in the bathroom to put on socks and couldn't hold my balance. The first time I dropped a glass not because it slipped, but because my grip had weakened. The first time I slept through the night and felt like I had woken up 10 years younger. Each of these moments became a doorway, a signal that my body, my companion through all these decades, was speaking to me. And when I started to listen, everything changed. I don't walk as fast now, but I still walk. I still feel joy in the movement of my feet against the earth. I stretch slowly. I eat mindfully. I speak less, but more truthfully. I carry less, but what I carry matters more. I still write, not with the urgency of youth, but with the clarity of hindsight. I write because I know now that every word has weight, and so does every choice. And you're still in the season of decision. You're still holding the pen. You're still building the body and the mind that will carry you here, to this chair, to this window, to this moment of looking back. If you hear my voice now, if you feel that small stirring in your chest, then it means you're still in time, still able to pause, to listen, to shift direction if needed. You are not too late. You are right on time. You may not realize it, but right now, your body is sending you messages. Maybe you wake up stiff. Maybe you tire faster than you used to. Maybe you feel more forgetful. Maybe your walks are shorter. These are not failures. These are invitations. Invitations to care, to tend, to shift gently before the storm comes. I am not here to lecture you. I am you, just a few chapters ahead. I am not perfect, and neither will you be. But you can be present. You can be awake. And that is enough to change everything. So today, before we talk about the signs, I want you to picture me. Older, slower, but not broken, not bitter, not afraid. I am simply a version of you who finally learned to listen. And I'm here now, whispering back through time, hoping you'll lean in close and hear me. There's something sacred about the first moment you notice your body change. Not in a big, dramatic way, but in the quiet, in the tiny details most people brush off. And when you've lived long enough, you realize that those quiet shifts are more truthful than any diagnosis. Let me tell you the signs I saw, the ones that showed me where I was headed long before anyone else noticed, the ones that whispered to me until I finally stopped pretending I didn't hear them. Walking speed. It started with how fast I crossed the street, or more honestly, how fast I couldn't. I had walked that route every morning for years, past the same trees, the same mailbox, the same crooked crack in the sidewalk that I always avoided. But one day, as I stepped into the crosswalk, something changed. The signal was still blinking, still giving me time. But halfway through, I felt it. A lag. My feet weren't keeping up. I wasn't sure if I'd make it across before the light changed. No one honked. No one stared. But I knew. Later that week, I timed myself. 10 feet. 3 seconds. That's what I read somewhere. A healthy adult should be able to walk 10 feet in about 3 seconds. I was closer to 5. At first, I laughed it off. Then I realized that walking speed isn't just about legs. It's about everything working together. Heart, lungs, nerves, muscles, brain. It's a full-body chorus. And when the music starts to slow down, it means something inside is losing its tempo. I didn't panic. I just started walking more. I walked with intention. I walked when I didn't feel like it. I walked when I did. And little by little, I noticed something. My thoughts cleared. My breath deepened. I wasn't just walking. I was reclaiming time. Grip strength. I used to shake hands like I meant it. Firm, steady, certain. It wasn't about dominance. It was about presence. Connection. I believed in strong hands. Hands that worked, built, lifted, held. But one morning, I was trying to open a jar of honey. I gripped the lid and twisted. Nothing. I wrapped a towel around it, grunted, tried again. Still nothing. I put it down, stepped back, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Weakness. It crept in slowly. I hadn't even noticed. But the body knows. And hands. They're the first to tell you when the rest of you is starting to fade. I read later that grip strength is a surprisingly strong predictor of longevity. Not just because it measures muscle, but because it reflects how well your body still holds together. Your joints, your nervous system, your circulation, your confidence. So I trained my hands. Not in the gym, just in life. I carried groceries instead of using a cart. I twisted open jars instead of asking for help. I squeezed tennis balls while reading. I planted herbs. Every grip was a choice. To stay here, to stay strong, to keep holding on. Balance. I once stood barefoot in the grass, one leg lifted, eyes closed. I had read that holding that position for 10 seconds was a good sign. A sign of neural health, of coordination, of inner steadiness. The first time I tried it, I tipped over after 3 seconds. It wasn't a fall, just a wobble, a stumble. But the symbolism wasn't lost on me. Balance isn't just about the body. It's about how you carry yourself through life, how you respond when the wind changes, when gravity shifts, when life throws you sideways. So I started working on it, slowly, mindfully, standing on one leg while brushing my teeth, doing Tai Chi in the park, walking heel to toe down the hallway like a tightrope walker in slow motion. It made me feel foolish at first, then it made me feel free, because the steadier I stood, the more rooted I felt. And with that came confidence. Not the kind that shouts, the kind that breathes deeply and smiles quietly. Sleep patterns. For years, sleep was something I chased but never caught. I'd lie in bed and replay the day like a worn-out movie reel. Thoughts looping, muscles tense, my body in the dark, my mind in overdrive. Then one night, I slept. Not lightly, not halfway, deeply, fully. I don't remember what changed. Maybe it was the way I stopped eating late, or the sunset walk I took, or the book I read instead of scrolling on a glowing screen. What I do remember is how I woke up. Rested, renewed, like someone had pressed a reset button somewhere inside my chest. Sleep is not just a break. It's repair. It's where the body restores what the day breaks down. It's where the brain clears out waste, where the immune system regroups, where healing hides. If your nights are restless now, don't ignore it. Don't normalize fatigue. Don't romanticize hustle. You are not meant to run on empty. Honor your sleep like you honor your food. Protect it like you protect your family. Because how you sleep now determines how fully you live later. Appetite. I used to love food. Not in the gluttonous way. In the grateful way. In the way you savor soup on a rainy day or bite into a peach that drips down your chin. But then, somewhere in my 60s, I started skipping meals. Not because I was busy. Because I didn't feel hungry. Food became routine. Tasteless. A box to check off. I lost weight. Then energy. Then joy. Loss of appetite is easy to miss. It feels harmless. But it's not. It's a sign that your body is withdrawing. That your digestive fire is dimming. That your spirit might be tired too. So I learned to eat again. Slowly. Mindfully. I added herbs. Warm teas. Small plates. I made it beautiful. Ritualistic. And with that came strength. Color. Warmth in my cheeks. Spark in my step. If you're eating less now, ask why. And don't accept just age as the answer. Stress tolerance. You can't outrun stress. Trust me, I tried. I worked too much. Worried too long. Held grudges too tight. I thought stress was just part of life. But stress doesn't just live in your head. It lives in your blood, your breath, your heart rate, your sleep, your skin. It's quiet at first. Then one day, it becomes your default. What changed for me wasn't that life got easier. It's that I stopped resisting it. I learned to breathe. Deep, intentional breaths that told my body we were safe. I stopped needing to control what couldn't be controlled. I learned to pray again. Not with words, with stillness. And the strangest thing happened. My blood pressure dropped. My mind cleared. My smile returned. Stress will knock. That's its nature. But you don't have to open the door every time. Social connections. The friends I kept calling. They kept me alive more than any medicine ever could. Loneliness is invisible. It doesn't show up on x-rays. But it wears down the soul. One missed phone call. One dinner alone. One holiday spent in silence. I almost gave into it once. Told myself I didn't need anyone. That solitude was strength. But one afternoon, I called an old friend. We talked for an hour. I laughed. She cried. And something inside me softened. Since then, I made connection a priority. Not quantity. Quality. I listened more. I showed up. I forgave faster. And every time I reached out, I felt younger. More human. More whole. If you feel yourself drifting, come back. Call someone. Write a letter. Ask a question. Say thank you. Connection isn't optional. It's essential. And when you arrive at my age, what you'll remember most won't be the things you bought or the awards you won. It'll be the people. The ones who stayed. The ones you let stay. These are the signs that spoke to me. Not loudly. Not all at once. But quietly, consistently, patiently. They were the road signs on the path to longevity. They were the mirrors I was afraid to look into. But when I did, I didn't see failure. I saw possibility. And so do you. If even one of these signs is whispering to you right now, pause. Listen. Respond. You don't need a complete plan. You just need a beginning. A step. A breath. A call. A walk. You still have time. And I'll be here. Waiting. Watching. Hoping that you'll take what I've lived and turn it into what you still can become. There's something sacred about hindsight. When you're young, you look forward and wonder. When you've grown older, you look back and understand. That understanding doesn't arrive all at once. It comes slowly, like sunlight creeping across the floor at dawn. It warms the cold corners of your life. And if you sit still long enough, if you let it touch you, you begin to see. You begin to understand what really mattered. Not the speed, not the titles, not the money, but the quality of the small, repeated choices. The ones you made without applause. The ones no one saw. Let me tell you what those signs really meant. Because at first, they seemed separate. Walking, sleeping, eating, holding, balancing, laughing. They felt like fragments. Random, isolated. But now I see what connects them. They are all about your relationship with yourself. How you move through the world is how you move through your own body. If your steps slow down, it's not just your legs. It's your will. If your hands grow weak, it's not just your muscles. It's how much you've stopped reaching. If your balance fades, maybe so has your center. If your sleep is broken, perhaps you haven't made peace with your thoughts. If your appetite disappears, Maybe you've stopped feeling nourished by life itself. That was the lesson I didn't want to face. That my body wasn't betraying me. I had been drifting away from it, little by little, out of habit, out of neglect, out of fear. But the body is patient. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It gives you chance after chance to come home. What I've learned is this. Longevity is not just about what you eat or how much you move. Those things matter deeply, but beneath them lives something more powerful. Self-respect. Not the kind people preach in motivational videos. The quiet kind. The kind that says, I will not abandon myself, even when no one is watching. The kind that gets you out of bed for a walk not because of guilt, but because your soul wants to feel the ground beneath your feet. The kind that reaches for whole food because your cells deserve something alive. The kind that chooses silence over stress, forgiveness over tension, laughter over bitterness, stillness over exhaustion. You see, the body listens. Every single day, it listens to how you speak to yourself. It listens to what you prioritize. It listens to the pace you choose. And it responds. That's the beauty of it. You are not stuck. Aging is not a one-way descent. It's a dance. Some days slow, some days graceful, some days full of aching feet. But always, always moving. And the steps you choose now create the rhythm that will carry you forward. I didn't understand this when I was your age. I was too busy chasing progress, chasing approval, chasing whatever I thought would protect me from time. But what I didn't see was that every act of disconnection was quietly costing me life. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you walked without a destination, just to feel your body in motion? When was the last time you paused before a meal and gave thanks not out of habit, but because your body was still capable of hunger? When was the last time you lay in bed and forgave yourself for being human? These are not dramatic changes. They are invisible, mostly, but they shape everything. They shift your chemistry, your energy, your immune system, your ability to bounce back from hardship. So if you are listening now, if these signs felt too close for comfort, I want you to know this. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are simply being invited to return. Return to your own presence. Return to the care you once gave others so easily. Return to the breath that anchors you, to the walk that grounds you, to the sleep that heals you, to the food that fuels you, to the joy that softens your face. Because that's what longevity truly is. It is not just more time. It is more presence in the time you have. I have met people in their 70s who felt ancient and bitter, and I have met 90-year-olds with fire in their eyes. The difference was never luck. It was the accumulation of gentle, consistent choices. And most of them began with a decision to no longer abandon themselves. I want you to ask yourself now, quietly, without judgment. Have I been walking with awareness? Have I been holding life tightly or loosely? Have I been sleeping as a refuge or as a burden? Have I been eating to stay alive or to feel alive? Have I been drowning in thoughts or remembering to breathe? Have I been reaching for others or hiding behind the comfort of isolation? These are the questions that define the shape of the years ahead. And once you begin to answer them honestly, the path forward becomes clear. Not easy, but clear. You don't need to transform everything overnight. You just need to begin. Begin where it's simplest, where your resistance is softest. Begin with a morning walk, with 1 extra hour of sleep, with a glass of water before coffee, with 5 minutes of stillness before reaching for your phone, with one honest message to a friend. And most of all, begin with kindness toward yourself. Because what I know now is this: the body is not a machine. It is a garden, and you are the gardener. What you water grows. What you ignore withers. What you care for returns the favor. When I stopped seeing these signs as threats and started seeing them as messengers, everything softened. I stopped blaming time. I stopped fearing decline. I started walking with my body instead of dragging it behind me. And you can too. That's the real lesson I came back to share. The science matters. The numbers. The studies. The evidence. But beneath it all is a deeper truth. Your body is asking for a relationship. Not obedience. Not punishment. Just presence. Just respect. Just a bit of attention. And when you give it that, it becomes your greatest ally. I'm living proof. There are things I wish I had said earlier. To myself. To the people I loved. To the body that carried me through decades of rushing and resting. Of joy and judgment. I didn't always listen to its quiet warnings. And I didn't always treat it like the sacred home it truly was. If I'm honest, I ignored the first signs. Not because I didn't care, but because I didn't want to know. I thought if I moved fast enough, I could outrun decline. If I kept myself busy, I wouldn't feel the small aches, the foggy mornings, the slowing breath, the sudden fear of stairs. And so I did what many do. I minimized the signals. I made jokes. I said it was just a bad night of sleep, just a sore leg, just getting older. But deep down, I knew better. There were times I walked past the mirror and didn't recognize the man staring back at me. Not because he was old, but because he looked tired. Not in the physical sense. Tired in the soul. Like he'd been carrying himself without really being there. I want to tell you about the day that changed things for me. It wasn't dramatic. No diagnosis. No ambulance. No rock bottom. Just one small moment that cracked something open. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, trying to put on my socks. And I couldn't. Not without leaning back. Not without holding onto the dresser. My balance had left me quietly, over time, and I hadn't noticed until it was no longer there. That day, something broke. Not in my body. In my denial. I sat there for a long time. Not angry. Not afraid. Just awake. For the first time in years, I saw myself without excuses. I realized how often I had postponed presence. Postponed listening. Postponed care. I had waited too long to walk with intention. To eat with joy. To sleep with peace. To breathe with awareness. To speak to the people who mattered most before time made silence permanent. And yet, even in that moment of raw honesty, I felt something unexpected. Grace. It was as if life whispered back to me, saying, "It's not too late. You're here now. That's all that matters." So I began again. Slowly. With a short walk. A phone call. A journal page. A glass of water in the morning. None of it felt heroic. But all of it was healing. And that's what I want to offer you in this moment. Permission. Permission to admit what you've been avoiding. The pain. The slowing down. The heaviness. The forgetting. The fear. Permission to feel it fully, without shame. Because pretending you're fine when you're not does not make you stronger. It just makes you lonelier. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You only need to return to yourself. To sit beside your truth and say, "I'm ready now." Ready to change the way you walk, the way you nourish, the way you rest, the way you speak to your own soul. I promise you this. Even if you've waited, even if you've ignored the signs until now, your body still remembers how to heal. Your spirit still remembers how to rise. And your future self is still cheering for you, still hoping you'll arrive with strength in your step and softness in your heart. I am not disappointed in the life I lived, but I carry a quiet wish that I had loved myself sooner. Not in the loud, self-help kind of way. In the quiet, sacred way. The way that shows up in small habits. In breath. In balance. In belonging. So here I am. Not to scold you. Not to scare you. But to remind you that honesty is not weakness. It is the beginning of everything. Take it from me. The version of you who finally stopped hiding. The one who now walks a little slower, but sees a little clearer. The one who has lived through the forgetting and is now devoted to remembering. And today, I hope you remember too. Some prayers are not spoken out loud. They rise from the breath, from the ache in the chest, from the silence at 3 a.m. when the world is asleep, but something in you is still very much awake. I used to think prayer meant asking for something. A change, a miracle, a solution. But now I know prayer is not always about receiving. Sometimes it is about remembering. Remembering what matters. Remembering who you are. Remembering that you are not alone. There was a season in my life when I had no words left. When the mornings felt dull and the evenings too long. When the noise outside couldn't drown the emptiness inside. I smiled when others were around, but inside, I felt forgotten. By life, by time, sometimes even by myself. And then, one evening, I sat down beside my window and whispered something simple. Not to a God in the clouds, not to the stars, but to the part of me that still believed. The part that still hoped. The part that remembered how to feel. I whispered, "Please help me remember how to love this life again. Please help me walk without fear. Help me forgive myself for being tired. Help me forgive others for not understanding. Let this breath be enough for now." And I waited. Not for a sign. Not for lightning in the sky. I just let the quiet hold me. And in that space, something softened. Not in the world. In me. That's when I understood. Prayer isn't magic. It's alignment. It's the moment when you stop trying to carry everything and begin to let yourself be carried. By grace. By stillness. By the mystery that you're still here, still breathing, still being given the chance to begin again. So if you're listening now, and something inside you is trembling, I invite you to pause with me. Not to figure things out, not to fix anything, just to feel what's true in this moment. Close your eyes, if you can. Let your hands rest gently in your lap. Let your jaw loosen. Let your shoulders fall. And whisper with me. I may not know what tomorrow brings, but I know I am still here, still breathing, still able to choose life again. I offer this moment as enough. I offer this body as sacred. I offer this pain as proof that I have lived. And I ask for the strength to keep walking, even when I am unsure, even when I am afraid, even when I feel like giving up. Let light find me again. Let love find me again. Let peace find me again. And let me be brave enough to stay. Sometimes, that's all the prayer you need. A breath, a whisper, a willingness to begin again. You don't need to be religious to pray. You just need to be human. You just need to feel the weight of this life and know that it is too heavy to carry alone. Let your prayer be a pause. Let your prayer be a turning. Let your prayer be your permission to rest, to rise, to return. And know this, I've prayed for you too. Even now, in this imagined future, I send you love across the distance of time. I send you the courage I've earned, the compassion I've gathered, the grace I've discovered in moments when I thought it was gone. You are not alone in this. Your healing is not only for you. It is for every version of you that still lives in memory. It is for the people who love you. It is for the world that needs your light, even now. So pray, however you know how, with words, with silence, with movement, with tears, with joy. But don't stop reaching inward. Don't stop reaching upward. Because every time you do, something in you will remember. You are being held. You are being heard. You are being healed. One breath at a time. There comes a moment in every life when you stop asking, how much time do I have left? And begin asking, how deeply can I live with the time I still have? That shift changes everything. It turns fear into clarity. It turns waiting into action. It turns aging into awakening. And it doesn't begin someday. It begins now. I may be speaking to you from the future, but my voice is not distant. It is your own, the wiser part of you, the part that remembers who you are beneath the habits and hesitation. You are not just a body with years ahead or behind. You are a soul with a direction. So today, I want you to make a vow, not to me, not to time, but to yourself. A quiet vow, a gentle one. A vow not to chase perfection, but to choose presence. A vow not to outrun age, but to walk beside it with grace. A vow not to fear the signs, but to welcome them as invitations. Because now you know, now you've seen, the small signals, the slow steps, the trembling hands, the nights of poor sleep, the fading hunger, the weight of worry, the silence of solitude. They were never punishments. They were mirrors. They were love in disguise. They were life trying to get your attention. And now that you've heard them, what will you do? Let me tell you what I did. I chose to move again, even when I didn't feel ready. I chose to breathe again, even when the world felt too heavy. I chose to reach out again, even after being forgotten. I chose to rest without guilt, to eat with reverence, to forgive with softness, to smile at the sunlight, to dance in the kitchen again, to stand tall in my own body and say, I am still here. You are still here. And because you are still here, your life is not over. It is not even near the end. It is just beginning in a new way, a deeper way, a more conscious way. You do not have to rewind the clock. You only have to choose how to honor each minute going forward. You can walk with strength. You can eat with joy. You can sleep with peace. You can feel more alive at 70 than you ever did at 40. You can become the person you always hoped to grow into. Yes, you will slow down. Yes, some things will ache. But your soul doesn't age. Your spirit doesn't wrinkle. And your heart still knows how to burn bright. So say it with me, in your own quiet way. I will walk. I will breathe. I will eat with care. I will rest without shame. I will connect with others. I will not abandon myself again. From this day forward, I choose to live like life is sacred. Because it is. Because I am. Because you are. And one day, when you look back, I pray you see not just the years you lived, but the love you chose to embody. This is your time, not to start over, but to start forward. And I'll be waiting for you on the other side of time, smiling, rooted, alive. If these words found their way to you, if something inside you stirred, if you recognized even one sign, then know this. You are not here by accident, and you are not meant to walk this path alone. This isn't just a video. It's a doorway, a turning point, a gentle call back to yourself. So I ask you, before you close this window, before you scroll on, pause, ask yourself, what will you do today that your future self will thank you for? What is one step, one breath, one change you can make right now to honor the life still unfolding inside you? And if you're willing, leave a comment below. Tell me which sign spoke to you. Tell me how you plan to begin. Not someday, but now. And if this felt like something sacred, like a letter you didn't know you needed, share it with someone you love, someone who needs to hear their own body whisper again. Subscribe if you want more letters like this, because this isn't the end. It's only the beginning of a new way to live. Slower, softer, stronger, wiser. From the future, I'm walking with you, still and always.